This can't be fixed. Worthless. Junk. Oh well. Time for some modding. Mongoose Jake here with another modding video, this time featuring the Adventure Force Night Attack, which is of course the Busby Lightmaster, just simply in the Adventure Force green color scheme, and sold exclusively through Walmart for about $10. I am modifying this pistol, and this blaster mod video is going to be a little quicker than the last time because, well, it's so similar internally compared to the Revolution, and you can use that video as kind of your extensive guide. And I did take D-Ben's suggestion, and I will try to do this in the future. I will try to timestamp in a pinned comment so it's easy to find important key points of the video. So, like for instance, working with the brass breech or whatnot, or suggestions on the specific shell and how to use it, or even the little torsion spring, because some people ask that question often on the channel. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to note the couple of differences here, and there are a couple when you go to open this blaster. First and foremost is there are hidden screws, and yes, I am having to actually hold this shell together because one big key difference is that everything internally is actually attached to the left side of the shell where you take all the screws out. That is the opposite of most. And yes, you did just see the little rod fall down to the workbench. I'll have to get that. Now, the hidden screws that you're going to find, there's two. One is actually here in the grip section. You have to use a small flathead screwdriver and pop out this blue section of the contour portion of the grip. Pop that out and you'll find one screw located under it. The other one is hidden in the priming slide underneath another blue section that you pop out first with a flathead screwdriver. There is one hidden screw there. So two hidden screws in this shell. And not counting the ones in the top prime slide, there are 9 screws in the shell, and they are of all the same exact size. So don't worry about your orientation when you take the screws out. I know some people used to even, this is going back a few years in modding, people used to actually even draw a diagram of the shell and then they'd place the screws where they took them out. That's a good tactic if you have different sizes, but all these 9 are the same size, so no worries. Just pull them out, toss them in a dish, set them aside. And like I said, all the internals are on this side of the shell instead of the one you would face down, which is a little unfortunate. It means you have to unscrew everything and then flip it over, and yes, every time I do a night attack or a Lightmaster, things fall out and I have to track them down. Just how it goes. But it's very simple and straightforward compared to the previous video. I'm going to do the exact same mods. The seal on this is a little better actually, so I may not even e-tape this one. And that is a case-by-case thing. But this will get a full gutting with being drilled out and a brass breech added in. And if you guys want, I will actually do an individual video on brassing a breech in my very simple method. It's easy, everybody could do it. But we're going to do this quickly, actually. And stock spring, again, it's a retaliator spring. Set it aside. I'll use a 7 kilogram spring from NF Strike for now for this mod. And your lock mechanism is this one right here. Neat little pull thing. It's got a sensor to make sure that your your actual breech is completely back after you've primed it, and then when it goes forward it releases and allows you to pull the trigger, because when it's back it locks the trigger via this little pull tab here. If that's down, it won't let you fire. You'll pull it there but nothing happens. So pop that out, and just like I said before, there are springs in it. This one is actually put together with pins, so no screws to salvage out of this one, but there are springs that can be used as backup catch springs. And then we have the remainder of the shell, which you don't need to do anything to. Oh, and by the way, on the shell, the only thing that's solvent welded is the little front cap. I just pry this one off with a flathead screwdriver. You might make a couple of little stress marks, but other than that, the Lightmaster and the Night Attack normally come apart fairly easy. Okay, now, without wasting too much time, we're going to do a quick segment on how to do a brass breech, and I might include this in the Night Attack video as well as on its own, so that it's a useful tool for those who actually want to just click and watch something for a few minutes and get the information they need. But what you're needing to do is to create, well, a trumpeted, by that it's flared out, for again, easy feeding of the darts even if they hit it at an angle. Allows it to stop from cutting, and I always bevel the edge using the tool that's actually on the front of my pipe cutter. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a stock breech and convert it to a, some people call it lazy breech, I'm going to call it the simple breech. But we're going to do a simple brass breech. Now, very simple. This one's pre-cut and ready to go, but we're going to do it because I will use it in the future anyways. Now, before you go and grab your brass and cut away and do everything, you do need one of these to do a good clean job. So have one of those at your disposal. But what we're going to do is, first off, we're going to remove the air restrictor. Reach over here with a flathead screwdriver. You can very easily go in through the back of your plunger tube and on Busby blasters. You can pry apart the supports for the air restrictor. Just in and twist. That's all you gotta do. There's a little gap. There's three little gaps that go around, and then you just go in and twist, and it will pry the post off like so. There's the air restrictor spring and the little support cap. Didn't quite get everything, so it's not coming out cleanly, so we'll go through the front as well. Okay, that's everything except for the actual little air restrictor itself. It is stuck in there, but we've got spring. I haven't really found a good use for those, but spring and dart post and everything else has popped out. We'll set it over there. Set all that over here. And now, what you need to do a proper job is a 17/32 drill bit. And what we're going to do at first, if you're going to do this free-handed and don't have access to a drill press, which I would recommend if you have it, you're going to reverse your drill bit. Yes, that's right. You're going to reverse your drill bit because you do not want it to snag and end up gripping so much that it throws this off. Now you can also use a slightly smaller bit. If you go to 18/32, that's too big. 16/32 is exactly a half. You could do that. But I have a 17/32, and all I do to make this work properly is I'll feed it in with it reversed. Going little bit by little bit is better than trying to take it all at once. So that's what I'm going to do. Take pauses, allow the plastic to cool, because going in reverse works with a lot of friction, and it will actually cause the plastic to heat up and start melting. And you don't want that because you could warp the breech, and we want it to stay very, very consistent, accurately and straight. We don't want to have any misalignment in it. But we're going to go ahead, keep going. Again, make sure you clean out your breech and the plunger tube, and that's that. Okay, so our work on the stock breech is done to modify it to accept the brass. And what you're going to do, if you're going to cut a fresh piece, again, you find where the dart would go in and stop. And you're going to have about that much dart exposed. So that's how much brass that you need at minimum. And here, this brass is a little bit longer than this dart. This is the one that I'm going to use, but if I were to cut a fresh one, all you do is you take that dart and you need to make it at least about the length of the dart. So if I were going to cut it, you then take this dart, if you want to, mark your brass. Okay, that's a bit behind the dart and a bit in front, so that would be more than enough length to actually go and feed back into the dead space back here. And with that, you would then take this tubing cutter or pipe cutter, place it on, line it up with your mark, and I guess it's time to get rid of my packaging and only leave it on to protect. But then you would go like this, double check my mark's there, double check that. We will go ahead and cut this because I'll use it in a future project. You go around and around and around, and you tighten the handle as you go. Okay, that is done. Set that aside in my little toolbox. Now, you take one of the ends. This gets crimped and folded in as you are cutting it, because it's kind of a squeeze and a cut all at the same time. But you take one end. I normally look at whichever end doesn't look as clean, and I leave it alone. But then you take the angled portion here, or for those of you who don't have that, needle nose pliers you can shove in, because they have a angled out, and this is actually what I do in the end, but you want to trumpet flare it out, make it look like a brass horn. But I will go around. This actually puts a bevel into it, so it helps give it a nice edge that's not going to cut into the darts. I go around this a number of times until I see a clean bevel cut into it. You can do it with other things. A Dremel bit does it, but that tool there gives a nice clean bevel that you can see there just by the shininess. Then I use this pair of needle nose, place it in there, spin it around. And the more you do it, the more flared it becomes. And all this does is help protect the darts, and it also helps the blaster feed smoother. But if you don't flare it and you just shove a piece of brass tubing in there with no bevel, no flare, no nothing, no angle cut into it, which is another technique people do, you will get chopped darts left and right. See, that one is flared out real nice. That will go in something else that I have. But I already had this one done, but now you see how to do it in real time. Set all these tools out of the way. And keep in mind, if you don't over drill it, you're going to be able to press this in. And keep in mind, I did bevel it, I did flare it, but there still is a little bit of a chance to slice yourself. So grab a screwdriver, turn it around, or a piece of wood would work as well. You want something that's soft enough to not damage the brass, but not going to get damaged itself. And then you just press this in. A little bit more. Maybe just a touch more. And voila! This breech is done. At first glance, looks stock until you see that little bit of shine there. And all that does is permit it to use, like this dart even has a chunk missing. All you have to do is now realize, instead of sealing on the back portion of the dart, this is sealing along the whole body of the dart. It's sealing along the whole portion of the dart, and even with just a little pressure, I can get it to fling fairly nicely. And that's the biggest upgrade you can make to a Busby type blaster. Now it's time to re-lubricate this, because the seal was really good on this Night Attack. And I'm not going to actually redo the seal on it. Just be a quick reassembly here in just a second. Okay, so the work on this non-painted Busby Night Attack. Now, some things to note. I did the same grip tape, which what this is tennis racket tape. That's my go-to to make the smaller handles on some Busby models, like the Night Attack, to make it a little more comfortable, because for an adult hand that's a bit small, this handle is one of the small ones. But doing this kind of fills the void, and I use an entire roll per handle, just as you would if you were redoing a tennis racket. But I went ahead and I did my dead space fill on the plunger head. You didn't get to see that. I did it off camera. And I did actually E-tape under the seal, because I made the decision, if I'm going to do it, if I'm going to do the mod, I'm going to do the mod fully. But now, got it ready to go. I've got 2 Elites, 2 AccuStrikes, a couple of off-brand darts, and then a couple of Busby Precise Pros in here. We're going to give it a try and see what we get. A worn Elite, I got 107.1. Another Elite at 118.3. AccuStrike is reading 180.8. That should be a fluke. Okay, last shot was with the AccuStrike was at 180.8, which is a little hard to believe. I'm thinking that registered just a little high. Let's try. I had one more AccuStrike in there. Yeah, 110.1. That's more in line with what I expect out of the AccuStrikes. Got an error there. Another one. Got a couple Precise Pros. Those were off-brand NF Strike darts. Let's try the Precise Pros. $143.9. I'm just going to get a few more shots because I don't like having a bunch of errors like that. 138.2. That was an AccuStrike, I think. That's an error. That was a Elite worn, I do believe. 109.6. Error there. Error for sure. 517.3 is not something we can count. 116.5. 2 more AccuStrikes. These read a little on the low side, at least tend to. 133.4. I think this is going to be the last shot. And right there in the 112. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. But this is basically 110 to 130 foot per second blaster. I will typically say that these mods that I do with a 7 kilogram spring, a simple brass breech, is going to net you around 125 feet per second on average, which is more than usable. I don't care where you go. Yeah, you're going to struggle against something like somebody wielding a Caliburn, but 125 to 130 foot per second, you're not going to get kicked out of a 140 to 150 limit war, but you can take this and have fun with it, and it's not so bad. It's not so high velocity you couldn't use it in the backyard somewhere. So it's a nice all around. And now actually with that bright orange Busby clip, oh good grief, I said clip. It says clip here on the sticker. I'm going to make sure you guys see that. And I was looking at it and said clip. Oh dear goodness, help me please. With this flippable mag, it actually looks pretty good. I'm not the huge fan of that bright orange green mixture, but it actually is tolerable. But this Mongoose Jake, I do hope that you enjoyed this, as this blaster is actually going to be handed off to somebody. They don't even know it, but it's about to be handed off here in the next hour. I'm recording this before I meet up with someone, and they're going to get this, and they don't expect it. The video will be put up later, so we'll have to see what they think of it. But this is Mongoose Jake saying thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.